Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.
Hello, it is Wednesday, the 5th of February, 2025, and it is, of course, time for Mullinger's Weekly Ramble. Hello. So the tariffs haven't come into play, but it took Donald Trump to make Canadians be great again. I haven't seen this whole country united quite so magnetically and majestically in a very, very long time. What a beautiful thing. Thank you very much indeed, Donald Trump. I mean, it really is very impressive to see Canadians coming together, doing what they should have been doing all along, and supporting Canadian products. Obviously, not to the detriment of friends of ours. The friends that we have in America, the 49% who don't vote for racist rapists. But at the same time, I guess so. I was about to say Canada first, but unfortunately, that actually there's a far right wing British. Well, not I guess Nazi group called Britain First, and they used these social media tricks where they would post things, kind of saying, we support the war, and people would share them, not knowing that it was this kind of awful group. Anyway, point being, you don't want kind of patriotism and jingoism to become anything sinister, but there is nothing wrong with being proud of being Canadian and supporting Canada. So anyway. Thank you, Donald. You brought Canada together. I don't know what how we're going to find somewhere to shift all of the fentanyl that's obviously piling up in Canadian factories. But obviously, as everyone knows, it was not about tariffs, and it's not about fentanyl, and it's not about borders. It is about this is what happens when Americans vote for someone who has colluded with their number one all-time enemy, Russia. And allowed, Putin to help him kind of cheat his way in the first time. Of course, we keep saying, how did this happen? How did Trump get voted in? And we're going, okay, well, I guess, half America is like this. The one thing all of us are obviously too scared to say is, it is perfectly possible that a, convicted criminal, convicted rapist with a penchant for track record for lying and cheating, it's perfectly possible he cheated. It's perfectly possible he didn't actually win. Of course, the genius, I don't know if this was planned this way, but the genius of the insurrection and everything that him and his followers did 4 years ago, when Biden got fairly elected and they all said it was a hoax. Of course, they've now made it impossible for the rest of us to say that this is a hoax. So it's hilarious how it's perfectly possible that he cheated. But none of us want to say it, because then, of course, we just know that then they're all going to go, well, when the shoe was on the other foot. And it's like, you can't play that game. As I said, I guess another plus side is that, had Trump not got elected and Kamala was elected, America would literally be, all of America would look like LA looked a few weeks ago. It would literally just be on fire and riots and looting. Because that's how one side reacts. It's very bizarre. Anyway, we're not going to wait. No one came in here to listen to millions of Trump things. The point is, well, I guess the scary thing, of course, is that we know it's not about this. He's doing a Putin, and he probably wants his legacy to be that. He said it. He said it yesterday. He literally said it on the Twitters or somewhere a day or two ago that he wants us to be the 51st state. Like, he keeps going on about it. He is planning to invade. So I think, obviously, rather than kind of deciding which tomato ketchup to buy because it's Canadian enough, we probably, not that I want to sound like, and now I sound like one of his people, but we probably should be stockpiling weapons. And, the Canadian Army should be buying a second tank, I say that with all the respect in the world. So I don't know if anyone saw my update video at the weekend, but basically, since I spoke to you all last, I was recovering from like a cold, I was recovering from a lost voice, and then basically the night I recorded the last podcast, when I was feeling great and I just finished all those gigs and I was recovering, I then got the Norovirus. If I can offer you any advice today, don't get the Norovirus. Oh my God. I mean, you obviously, it's a stomach flu type virus, whatever thing. So, the first part, which, comes on in the middle of the night. You hear the, and then, basically, it's a fountain. It's an aggressive fountain from both ends, and you're having to play that ridiculous game of, pick a side. You're sitting on the loo and you have to pick a side, basically. What I'm getting at. So anyway, there's that. But then basically for Friday, I was completely knocked out. I was supposed to be doing CrossFit for the first time with my friend Chris on Saturday. I was supposed to do it the previous week too, and I was again lost my voice, so I didn't want to. Anyway, this Saturday I'm doing CrossFit for the first time, so now I'm looking forward to reporting back to you all about how much fun I have. I'm actually recording this. It was one of the first times I've recorded one of these in the evening. It's 7:00 in the evening, Tuesday the 4th. It's day before. In theory, this goes out. And I've just come back from the field house. My son River had soccer, so I used that time to use the gym, rowing machine, and 200 sit-ups. If you're asking, anyway, you didn't ask. What's my point? Yes, no advice. Basically, on Friday, I was knocked out. Literally, just knocked out, lying in the loft, isolated, fever. And just so weak, I couldn't move. So weak, I couldn't read a book. So weak, I couldn't watch TV. So weak, I couldn't even be able to look at my phone. I did bang about this on my video on Facebook at the weekend, so I'm not going to go on about it too much. I'm going to jump in with you. You all sent me a million topics to talk about, so we're going to go into that. But before we do, I'm going to shoot through. I had some things that I jotted down that I'd saved here to talk about. One is sad news from England. WH Smith, my favourite store in the world, is closing. They're keeping it in airports, but it's the store that I worked at for 4 years and almost worked at forever. I don't know if you know the story about this. My mum wrote a letter to head office asking me to go on the management trainee scheme because she didn't want me to go to university because she thought I wasn't smart enough and I would ruin it. So she forged a letter to head office. I think on the basis that knowing that I'm quite polite, I think she thought that when the managing manager, Keith Edmondson was his name, called me into his office at Maidenhead WH Smith and said, I hear you want to go on the management trainee scheme. I think she thought I was going to be, because I'm too polite, that I would just go, go on then. And then I would cancel the university. But the headline on the Daily Telegraph was WH Smith, the stationer that won't be missed. Screw you, Daily Telegraph. I will miss it so much. It's where I buy all my Panini stickers, books, stationery. Happy birthday to Kerry Underhill, the incredible wife-to-be, fiancée of, and songwriting and performing partner of the amazing Scott McRae. Scott McRae, you all know as the head of tech at the beautiful Imperial Theatre. Together, they are a powerhouse duo on stage and off. Kerry, I hope you are having now, but when you listen to this, had yesterday an amazing birthday. And Kerry made a very good point when I was talking about, we're talking about supporting local. If you're looking to change your American holiday this summer and stay somewhere in Canada, I highly recommend the new copy of locally owned, locally run, Canadian family-run business, the Maritime Edit magazine, of which the cover story is about Blackbush Resort on PEI. Hats off, by the way, to the well-known. I'm not going to name names. Hats off to the well-known law firm who pulled their advertising from the Maritime Edit this week so they could spend more money on Mark Zuckerberg and the Googles. And but thanks very much. It's really appreciated. Great timing for that. And really easy time to be in the print magazine business. Really good time to pick to support Silicon Valley and the Nazis who got Trump into power and are planning to invade Canada. I hope they appreciate your funds. Bitterness, not like me. Oh, who's seen that movie Canadian Bacon by Michael Moore? Where's Michael Moore been, by the way? Do you remember not Bowling for Columbine, Fahrenheit 9/11? Do you remember that came out 20 years ago? I remember going to see Fahrenheit 9/11, being absolutely blown away to see the Electric Cinema in Notting Hill in London, which was ahead of its time in terms of the fact it had comfy seats and a bar and you could take food and booze in. Now all cinemas in England have that. It's only in Canada where you're not allowed to have drinks anywhere fun. But Michael, we need Michael Moore more than ever. But anyway, he wrote a movie that starred John Candy, one of John Candy's last movies, called Canadian Bacon. And here's the plot. In a desperate bid to revive his abysmal peacetime approval rating, the President of the United States, Alan Alda, who incidentally, by the way, has a spot in... No, I was thinking of Alan Arkin. Alan Arkin has a spot in the Maritimes. Alan Alda does not. Agrees to a scheme proposed by corrupt cabinet minister Stu Smiley, Kevin Pollock, and launches a top-secret propaganda campaign to vilify Canada. As US citizens get caught up in a xenophobic hysteria, a group of residents of Niagara, New York, wielding machine guns, organize a vigilante invasion that could trigger a real war with America's gentle neighbor to the north. It's literally the plot of a 1995 film by Michael Moore starring John Candy. And it's what's happening now, obviously, is what I'm getting at. We need Michael Moore. Now, Fahrenheit 9/11 felt like such a game changer at the time. It was like, wow, a film can change history. It didn't. And then it's so bizarre to think that we all watched that and we all thought George Bush was the absolute devil. And now George Bush is Santa Claus compared to what's happening now. A couple of managers, my friend Chris sends me some positive... speaking of positive affirmations, I'm listening to one of the most well-known, Audible recommended me a book, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, which I thought I stupidly agreed to use my one credit a month on it. Basically, in the first 5 minutes, 5 pages, you get the gist of it, of the Let Them Theory. Crucial point, it's not actually her theory. She also stole it from someone called Cassie something, a student of hers. In fact, and it's existed before this other person. It's an old theory, but she stole everything from this. So it's very difficult to listen to someone talk about, self-help when they've stolen the entire concept. Google Cassie. Just Google Mel Ross, who'd she steal it from, and you can look it up. Poor girl that she stole it from. Anyway, here's a couple of things to keep us positive at this difficult time. Social media has everyone rushing their goals. Remember, comparison is the thief of joy. Focus on your own lane, own pace, own race. That is something. Own race meaning the race, not your own, not your own, not the white race, not like what Hitler, what Musk would call the superior race. None of that. I don't. Not that race. Not race. Not race. Not skin. Not race. Where you're. You know. You get what I'm saying. Race like running. Race your own metaphorically. You get what I'm getting. This reminds me of something Jimmy Carr told me once about like how pointless it is. He's like, you're not competing with anyone else. You're competing with yourself. So it's like, I'm watching Bill Burr or Nate Bargatze and going, I will never be that good. It's completely pointless. I can't help it, but I do it. I should be walking off stage tomorrow, this Thursday, at Long Bay, going, was I better than I was last time I was here? That's what I'm comparing myself. So that's what we should all be doing. That's one thing to think about. Unexpected kindness is the most powerful and least costly and most underrated agent of human change. So true. You can. I like putting the odd moment of just unexpected kindness. The obvious one being the old buying the person in Tim's line, their coffee or whatever it is. Even just seeing a woman struggling in the Costco parking lot and going to help her, not because she's a woman, because she's a person. A woman don't need our help. It just happened to be a woman. I was thinking of a particular example. I wasn't being sexist, implying that she needed my help. The last time I did this, it happened to be a woman. It's what I had in my head. So when you see a person struggling with their shopping, go and give them a hand. It's amazing how surprised they are. Today's lesson. No matter your age, you'll always wish you'd started younger, but today is the youngest you'll ever be. Remember that? Today's the youngest you'll ever be. So, it's like Ricky Gervais, 40 or something when he first tried comedy? I mean, nothing is ever too late to try anything. Also, I'd just like to say a shout out to my friend Catherine St. Pierre in Florida. I hope life is good there, and I just wanted you as Mullinger's Weekly Rambles, as you are our number one favorite American. Well, no, there's other there are. We love all of you American listeners, but Lady Catherine is possibly our favorite in that she is an official mascot of this. I hope life is okay there for you as a Canadian, and we're sending you all our love. Thank you to everyone that has been sending me please come again pictures from your visits to Climax. My TikTok video, the real video, the real. It's so weird they call them reels. What is with that? Has your Instagram page changed to that new weird shape? Like, what the fudge is that about? Instagram, like, it was all about the square, and now I guess when the Big Bot was being banned in America, which of course the ban's been undone because they've agreed to kind of let Trump use it for exclusive propaganda. Speaking of which, the last week's podcast, this podcast goes out on all platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever. And it also reset it up so it goes out on my YouTube channel as well. I think only one person listens to it on there. Hi, Charlotte Llewellyn. Hope you are well. And you're awesome. But the last week one I had in the title or in the synopsis, I had Donald Dump's name, and I also had Guantanamo Bay. The video automatically, the podcast it automatically switches to private. Every time I try and turn it public, it goes to private. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy, but I am saying it's 100% a conspiracy. And it's so weird that this is happening on the board. Any time I try and boost anything that has disparaging stuff on Trump, it gets rejected by Zuckerberg's people. I thought there wasn't supposed to be any censorship on there, but apparently there is censorship if you mention Trump. I mean, you can see where the world's heading. There's no way he is not wanting to invade Canada. That's coming, and we got to be prepared. I can't believe that this has turned me into one of those people. I used to say these pictures. I actually just weeks ago I would talk about these lunatics. They would be like, "We got to be prepared. We got to stockpile the armory. We got to get the weapons. They're coming for us." I used to laugh at those people, and now I am one. But I literally, yes, since that video of the Climax. Yes, anyway, Instagram has changed the shape of its shit to look like, so all the pictures, so if you've worked for years on there and you're a photographer or an artist and you've worked for years to make your crops nice, suddenly they've all been cropped weird. But probably Trump asked you to do that, so screw you, Instagram. It's long way, so maybe so that a full psych heel will fit in. Maybe that's what it is. But basically, since that welcome, the joke is, that when you drive out of Climax, Saskatchewan, it says, "Please come again." Obviously, there's loads of other brilliant jokes, like it's lovely to go to Climax, but it's very slippery getting there at this time of year. To get there, you might need help from your friends in Finger, Manitoba. Gold, absolute gold. Obviously, if I say so myself, even though most of these jokes were actually written by people who kindly, every time I post a video, people post funny comments, and those comments become part of the routine. Literally, my act is half stuff that I'm repeating that you've all said, or just repeating stuff that people have written on the big box. So thanks to everyone that's written those things. I've been what was I sent? Tom Liston sent me an email today about the world's oldest basketball court. Do you know about this, guys? That the world's oldest basketball court is in St. Stephen. Like, St. Stephen is a birthplace of basketball. So Tom Liston and a team of amazing volunteers, amazing people. David Ganong, the iconic, legendary David Ganong, maker of the greatest chocolates in the world. And I hope there's never an excuse anyway for anyone to be buying boxes of chocolates that aren't Ganong. But now more than ever, if I see anyone eating an American, I don't want to be this person. It's going to become like PEI during COVID. Do you remember when Anne of Green Gables was going around like machine gunning anyone that had an Ontario number plate? I don't want it to become like that, but I am saying don't buy a Mars, buy a Palomine. They're better. And they're made right here. And they're employing hundreds of people. Anyway, David Ganong and Tom Liston, and I'm sure some other people, have worked tirelessly to basically create they're building this massive basketball experience center. I mean, St. Stephen was and is already an amazing tourist destination thanks to the Chocolate Museum there, which not enough people go to. but they've raised millions to create this thing. It's going to be like a world-renowned destination for basketball fans, the world oldest basketball court. Anyway, those were the things that I wanted to mention. I'm going to go through all the things that you asked me to talk about, and then I'll go through what I did over the weekend. Although I will quickly say that last night my wife watched the Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield romantic drama. It is a weepy. It is about cancer. It's not okay. I was about to say how great it is. Obviously, the greatest movie of all time, but losing some, and is obviously Beaches. Sorry, I'm just thinking about Beach. My mum messaged me about Beaches today, and it just makes me cry. I'm just gonna have a sip. Drinking delicious non-alcoholic beer. How weird is it? How good is non-alcoholic beer now? I've said this before. I think I could go to a party and someone could pour me non-alcoholic beer and tell me it's real beer, and I wouldn't notice the difference. Like I wouldn't. I wonder, interesting experiment that, seeing if people would start to act silly, if it would work as like a placebo, or if it would psychologically. Anyway, okay, let's go through. Anyway, We Live in Time. Really, really beautiful film. Time jumps that are slightly confusing, but it's kind of the point. And I sat and it depends what you're looking for. You know what? You will work bloody hard. And you probably don't want to be. You're crying for 2 hours basically. Let's start with Heidi White, who I noticed has kindly bought tickets for this Thursday. Heidi, I have a gift package for you. By the way, Heidi, I literally just an hour ago bumped into Trish and Glenn, which is wonderful, at the Fieldhouse. And I have a gift box for you, Heidi. Your question for this week is: if I was a fly on the wall, who would I most want to listen in on? Okay, that's an interesting one. Your show okay, I don't read out compliments, I know, but your show makes my week. Please keep doing what you're doing. Laughter is the best medicine. That's really kind, Heidi. And it's funny because I finish this podcast every week and think, why is there nothing funny in this? And I don't know, maybe I don't know. I'm sorry that I'm always talking absolute. I'm always talking such gobbledygook. How do you say it? Gobbledygook. Gobbledygook. Anyway, who would I listen to? Well, I'm not one of those people. I think I said this before. I can't remember. You know, some people just want to. I worked with a guy, made a film with I went to school with a guy who I then made a TV show with and a film with, who was always trying to find out what everyone was saying about him. Like he would always read other people. He would, like, if he could, he would steal people's phones, read their texts. He would hack their emails, search his name. It was so bizarre, and it was also very unfortunate because he did enough deplorable things that everyone was saying. People were saying stuff. There was going to be stuff in there. I am literally the opposite to that. Like, I mean, because I live my life as best as I can. I don't need or want to hear this bad. Anyone slagging me off, I don't need to hear it. It's why I hate it when people. Whenever someone writes something really mean about me on the social medias and someone tags me in it, it's like, I don't want or need to see that. Someone's saying, oh, I'm funniest man alive. Why do I need to see that? So much so that I remember when I worked in an office for 15 years before moving here, if I left the office and people were still in there and I realized I'd left my tube pass, like bus pass or train pass or keys or whatever on my desk, and I had to come back in, I would be so worried they'd all be going, oh, fucking Mullinger's such a dick, don't you hate Mullinger? I was so paranoid that as I would walk back in, I would make a really big show of it. I'd be like, oh, as I'd be walking back in, oh, silly old me, I seem to have forgotten all my things, just to stop them saying it. Whereas this friend of mine is the kind of guy that would walk out and deliberately hide in the corridor or hide under a desk and listen to what everyone's saying and want to know. Don't want to know. So to answer your question, Heidi, if I could be in the fly on the wall, it would be a room at the White House, listening to the staff / people, the cabinet, say, or the team, the people who work with and for Donald Trump, when he leaves the room, I would love to hear, like when he comes in and talks his absolute complete gibberish bollocks, and these supposedly intelligent and some of them educated, intelligent people agree and say, yes, we'll do that. Yes, let's invade Canada. Great idea. Yes, grab everyone by the pussy, whatever it is that they're all agreeing with. I would love to hear when he leaves the room. Do they kind of carry it on? Like, okay, team, right? Clearly the president's got a great. Or do they go? Well, like in that show that I watched, just finished season 3 of Industry, amazing BBC HBO show about city workers in London. Living in London is exactly like that. By the way, everyone is partying that much. There was that much drugs and shagging going on. Oh, it was when I was working in media in my 20s, not in the 20s. What's my point? In that, there was, what was I saying? Something about, tell me one, people saying things are a good idea. In that, there's a line where they're trying to, I won't give it away, but they're trying to get another bank to bail them out. And they're trying to get the vice president of America to bail them out. And they say, well, wouldn't the president, and she says no. And they say, wouldn't the president, and she said, the president still thinks we're at war with Japan, which is funny, I guess, because they possibly were making a dig at Biden. Isn't it weird now? Just as I came in the house, my wife's watching TV, she's changing the channels, and every single channel is just Trump's doing this shit, Trump's doing this terrible thing, Trump's doing this terrible thing. It's like, okay, I mean, I know he is, but can we just shut up about it? I mean, again, I've been banging on about it, but it's so annoying. I was like this the last time, and then yet when Biden was president, you forgot that he existed. Like months would go by. Where's Biden? Oh, Mark Carney was here in New Brunswick at the weekend with Wayne Long, and I believe he came out here to the Valley. I know this because my friend Shannon met him at Garden Grove. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Harry. That's what I would listen to. So we've got loads of great questions here. We're going to whiz through them. Suggestions. Craig Esty suggested we want to talk about Brexit and the ridiculous farming laws in the UK. Jeremy Clarkson is exposing them on his Prime series. It's absolutely horrendous the way farmers are treated there, probably here too. Trudeau saying Trudeau coming out and he's saying he had a good meeting with. That's the other good thing about this. What's going on is that I know now, because of Trump has A, brought Canadians together, B, made us Canadians do what they were supposed to be doing all along and supporting Canadian products, but also there's no way in heck that Trump supporting opponent, that other guy that was possibly going to get into power, is going to get into power now. So another win. Craig Esty is absolutely right. I mean, the farming laws in the UK. Clarkson's farm. I was in the Cotswolds the year before last, Craig, just staying in a place just down the road from a diddly squat farm. You should all watch Clarkson's Farm so we can all talk about it. It's an absolutely phenomenal show. Jeremy Clarkson, kind of an angry, like a British equivalent of like a shock jock. Well, you may all know, hosted Top Gear. Got cancelled 50 times, punched a producer, used the M word, chain smoking, alcoholic, said he wanted to, Meghan Markle to be stripped naked and covered in excrement. I mean, did all these terrible things and then somehow has come out at the other side. No one's, I went to see Dogman on Sunday at the cinema, Sunday, and, one of the characters is played by Ricky Gervais. And it's just so funny because it's like literally Ricky Gervais spends his entire life talking about how he's been cancelled. And he's just, for his last special that was full of very unfunny, in my opinion, you're entitled to your own opinion, but racist, anti-immigrant, shitting on refugee. They weren't jokes as such. They were more political statements and more transphobia than David Chappelle can throw a stick at. I don't know if that's an analogy that works. But point being, just a load of like angry anti-trans rhetoric. But then he won a Grammy, wins a Grammy for it, most watched special ever, blah blah blah. And crucially, someone says yes, he can be in a children's movie. Don't see a problem there. And it's so weird how I'm worried about here. Like I'm talking about how I need to turn clean because I worry that some gigs I don't get because people don't understand that I can do clean as well. And so I worry that I miss out on some corporate work. Anyway, sorry. Was that Jay's right? Anyway, watch Clarkson. Lou Weezy Dal says, how about talking about something incredible that's happening locally, such as how St. John's should be proud and celebrate that the largest child and youth organisation started in St. John 125 years ago and is still in operation today. Of course, Lou Weezy Dal is, of course, talking about the Boys and Girls Club. The history around the club is incredible. So many people are connected to them in one way or another because of this small community. There's now 600 clubs across Canada. You're absolutely right. I did a fundraiser with Big Daddy Taz for Boys and Girls Club in Winnipeg about 5 years ago. And everyone in the room was talking about how this amazing thing was started in this place, St. John, St. John. And I'm like, I'm from St. John. And they all started cheering. And the Boys and Girls Club is celebrating their millionth year. And this June, there's some incredible big event happening in St. John, which is going to be a fun event. You should all go and support it. Brad Doyle has sad news, which is true. I too heard this, that Billy's Seafood is unfortunately closing due to basically the shitty construction going on all around it, scaffolding, blah, blah, blah. St. John really is a place. I mean, I know this does happen everywhere, but it really is a place that makes it very, very hard uptown for people to keep a business going. There's very little consideration given to business owners. Gourmetgab events by Pertu. Gabrielle has rightly pointed out we should be talking. Well, it's true. I think I did talk about Gourmetgab last year on this podcast after they catered is not the word. They provided the private. But I should point out that Gabrielle of Gourmetgab has cooked and worked for the Queen and been and Jamie Oliver. Although Jamie Oliver was brilliant on the Michael McIntyre show on Saturday night. And she now is from Fredericton, I believe, but now is based in Halifax with this Gourmetgab, and they will come into your house and create, cook and serve a world-class meal with drinks. And I Adam Newhouse's birthday party last year, his wife, beautiful wife, Jessica Newhouse, proprietor and co-owner of my favorite place in the world, Garden Grove Cafe, organized it as a surprise. And my goodness, Gourmetgab, I mean, check it out. Go look it up, Gourmetgab events by Pertu. Please check it out. Dan Foote has said we should talk about We Believe. That's true. We Believe is a huge event that's happening at Harbour State TD Station for youth. Thousands of youth. Incredible thing. Also announced today, I don't want to promote it because it's American, but I'm going to have to mention it. Cypress Hill are coming to St. John TD Station this May. I'm ridiculously excited because I last saw Cypress Hill in 1992, so that's 30 years ago at Reading Festival. I saw them the year before that as well, so much. They're absolutely incredible live. They're supported by De La Soul, who I also love. Plus, one of my favourite bands of all time, the Far Side. Now, the Far Side's 1992 album is an album that I listen to now. I wouldn't say every day, but a few times a week. And I'm assuming the Far Side's on first, which I will just say that having gone to Ice Cube last year, primarily to see my friend Kyle Wells, and then standing in line for close to 2 hours just to get into Harbour Station, because I think they were deciding to check tickets, God knows how, like the most old-fashioned way in classic St. John fashion. I missed Wells and I think the next support act. So hopefully that gets sorted out this year and people actually get to see the Far Side. Although tickets are catastrophically expensive, I see. And, you can see me at Long Bay for $25. I don't have $300 for tickets for things anymore. That's that. Mike Arsenault, try and talk about everything not to do with Trump. USA tariffs. You're absolutely right, Mike. I do apologise. Next week I will try and do that. Now, here's the deal. You all have got to send in questions and stuff for next week that don't involve Trump, and we'll go a whole episode without talking about Trump in 1p, and see if that episode, by not mentioning Donald Trump, it gets it gets able to be shared on the socials because it's not being blocked by the the new world order of Zucks and all those wankers. Roger Ringette, Canadian food for sure. Well, exactly. I mean, basically, buy Canadian food. Mark Burnett, anything but the colour orange. Fair play, brother. You're absolutely right. So we can talk about his hands, but not his face. Seriously, Trump. Anyone that doesn't know how to tan more than just a face. I mean, again, I've been guilty of it myself. If you need a hand, Trump, I will not be. Gillian Jameson, I hope Stu had a wonderful birthday and you are just the greatest couple ever. I got the right person? Yes, Canada only, absolutely right. Heidi Oxner, snow days, the fun aspects, snow day activities and the pros and cons. I love a good snow day, but we just had 3 in a row here in Nova Scotia last week and it was a bit much. Maritime winter activities, sledding, skating, ski-joring, worth a Google. Okay, everyone Google ski-joring. I can't Google's it now because I turned the Wi-Fi off, so I can't, noises don't go off on the phone or the computer. Sean Bombom, we need a break from the news. Please talk about ponies. I agree. Sean, I apologise for 36 minutes in. I have been banging on about. You want to talk about ponies? Everyone needs to read. Well, one of the greatest books of all time is The Princess and the Pony. I think I've talked about this many times before by Kate Beaton, who, of course, famously wrote a book last year that was very popular. I believe one Canada reads. Kate Beaton is actually from a tiny town of 1,000 people on Cape Breton Island. Incidentally, I'm performing in Cape Breton this September. Way to make something all about me, rather like that wanker Will Smith at the Grammys on Saturday night. I hate people who are paying tribute to someone, and he was paying tribute to that guy. What's that? A famous guy. Anyway, and every single story is when I met him, he said this to me. And it's like, don't make it all about you, you wanker. Give you a slap, Will Smith. Ponies. My dear friend my dear friend Jennifer McGrath from Albert County, Moncton, has written one of the most beautiful children's books ever. It's a classic. It's up there with the Gruffalo. I don't believe it is out yet. I see again. I've got no reference here. I believe it is called The Pony and the Starling, but it could be The Starling and the Pony. I think it's The Pony and the Starling. It'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry. It's intrinsically anti-Canadian, but also with global appeal. It is reviewed in the next issue of Maritime Edit, which, my God, we're trying to spend to print this week. So again, thanks again to people who've pulled out their advertising to spend on Facebook and Google instead. Much appreciated. Next week, I've got to finish another 84-page issue, which is a bilingual edition, which I'm so excited about, which is just amazing. Finally, just celebrate bilingualism. Celebrate it. That's the thing. I love Sugar Sammy, by the way, is one of the greatest bilingual comedians. He's coming to the Maritimes this month. Actually, when I'm in Halifax and I'm headlining the new Halifax Live Comedy Club owned by Jake Hirsch, which opened in Halifax a few months ago, I'm actually just before my headline set zipping over to the Spats Theatre to open for my dear friend Sam. Sugar Sammy and I've been friends for about 20 years. He, one time in London, came to play my club. I ran a comedy club above a pub for many years. Tons of people played there. Russell Brand before. Well, not before the raping, before we knew about the raping. Stephen Merchant played it, Jimmy Carr many, many times. Greg Davies, you name it. Jason Rouse. But best show I ever saw at the Masons. Saw all these great comics there. The greatest night ever was the night that Jason Rouse headlined. Jason Rouse and Scott Capurro on the same bill. Never, ever seen a room fall about more. Just absolute. None of us could breathe for about an hour. And at the end, it was almost like an end of an orgy where no one could kind of make eye contact because we'd all just kind of literally let ourselves go. Like we just let ourselves give over to, and again, also because of what we just laughed at. Anyway, what's my point? Sugar Sammy was flirting with a girl in the front row and being quite pushy with her, but hilariously so. And and he was like, "You got a boyfriend?" She's like, "Fiance," and he's like, fucking blah 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 blah. And then she's like, "Well, who is he? Who's your boyfriend?" And then she points over, and it's me because it was Pam. Absolutely, it was absolutely brilliant. 20 years ago now, time flies. Okay, Sean, I talked about ponies. This book about the starling and the pony, beautiful. Order it now, everyone. Google it. Jennifer McGrath. You want a nice, beautiful children's book? Canadian, New Brunswick. Roseland, products made in New Brunswick, and try them on air. Great idea, Rose. There's a new segment. I'm going to buy a New Brunswick product every year and try it on air. Most podcasts, I'm sat here eating some form of Gnong product. Mainly Sunkist is what I live on. But there's literally no reason for anyone to be buying chocolate that isn't, well, Peace by Chocolate, obviously. Gnong. Hello Chocolate, Maguire Chocolate Company in St Andrews. So I say no one. But my point is, you should not be buying American chocolate. That's one thing. Okay. Kathy, Casey, I think you should team up with the 1889 group. They're just as funny as you, and you can do all kinds of taste tests of different items that are made in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI. I agree, Kathy. I love the 1889 group. I believe it's a commercial radio station, so you can only go on there if you pay to be on. That's how commercial radio works. I believe in this country. It was very confusing. I never heard of it. It doesn't really exist in England. This thing where the only things that you hear talked about on the radio stations in our cities, other than the CBC, everything that's talked about is paid for. So tell them I would love to, and I will do it, but I can't pay to be on, I'm afraid, because I charge next to nothing for my tickets, and I put all the monies into the shows, and despite the fact that I do a lot, don't have much disposables, is what I'm trying to say. Bill Goff, how about the King's indifference to our plight by not supporting us but dealing behind our backs for a deal? But make it funny. The King being Trudeau or the King being King Charles? Well, I mean, don't expect anything from the British royal family. It's utterly ludicrous that we all cough up so much money towards them as Canadians. I mean, in England, they get a lot of benefits from the tourism. I'm not disparaging the royal family, and I will say to credit to King Prince Charles, amazing documentary I just watched on BBC iPlayer about the terrible knife crime problem in England that was so bad in England. I mentioned this Sundays in my act about how I once came home from work, got off the tube, and there was a teenager's body had been stabbed to death outside the tube station with a sheet over it and people milling around, and I kind of almost had to walk kind of over it. This is how bad it is in London. I got home 5 minutes later, forgot to mention it to my wife because it was just another day in South London. Now, this was 10 years ago when we left. Knife crime in England, which was at this ridiculous peak when I left, has more than doubled in 10 years. This documentary that Idris Elba has hosted on BBC, a 1 hour documentary where he meets victims, families, discovers the inherent racism behind this idea that it's black gangs and it's a black problem, when 70% of like knife crimes are perpetrated by and to white kids. And these kids, we're talking like 12, 13, 14, 15. There are interviews with mothers whose sons were stabbed through the heart from behind with a machete or a sword in a case of mistaken identity. It's just staggering. Idris Elba goes to speak to King Charles about this, and it's quite a moving moment because Idris Elba's entire acting career began when Prince Charles's Prince's Trust sent him money to go to drama school. And I know this. Idris Elba himself told me this story actually many years ago. This sounds like I'm bragging, but this happened. So I organised a charity auction where I got 50 well-known photographers to donate prints of very well-known people, and I got them, signed photographs in an art gallery, Phillips Art Gallery in England. I've got there's a whole book about this. Long story short, we raised something like £250,000, £250,000, I believe. £250,000 for Prince's Trust. and Idris Elba told me that. That was it there at the event, or maybe it was at the Men of the Year Awards later that year. Anyway, well, either way, Bill, if it's the king, yes, I can't see the royals supporting us, and yeah, I agree. Trudeau coming out and saying I had a good chat with Trump. I mean, I know you've got to be a politician, but don't call it a good chat. Tressa, Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary is coming up. Am I a fan? Did I grow up watching it? I am a fan of Saturday Night Live. It's kind of still like a crazy pipe dream that one day I would like to be on it, because the great thing about being on it is you get to create comedy all week, every day, all week, every week, all day, every day, and you remain completely anonymous. What an amazing gig. Like, literally, the only reason I've never pursued anything outside of sitting here and traipsing around doing it is I'm not even comfortable, particularly with the vague recognition that some people have of me in a tiny town that I live in. Fame definitely is not a thing for me. But yeah, Saturday Night Live is beautiful. The people get to be on it, and no one has any idea what they're, if you're not Colin Jost and you're not married to Scarlett Johansson. So I did grow up watching it. Obviously, like, loved, Chevy Chase. I used to have the VHS videos of the best of Chevy Chase, and so I have the best of Eddie Murphy. And obviously, I never really seen much of the Will Ferrell era. I've seen bits of the Chris Farley stuff from that time, but I've seen everything from the old John Belushi. Haven't seen that new movie Saturday Night yet. It's not supposed to be very good. I'm also not a believer. I'm not one of those people that talks about how it's not funny anymore. I think they're, like everything in life, it's hit and miss. The monologues are great. I love, Nate Bargatze's last two were phenomenal. Bill Burr's last few. So yes, I like it. I'm looking forward to the anniversary. Okay, Tim Andrews, my wonderful friend Tim Andrews, who's from Oxford in England. You talk about being a small-time comedian. Oh, so it's connected to what we were just saying. You talk about being a small-time comedian and being not famous. I disagree based on the fact that a movie is made about you makes you famous. I'm curious though, if you were famous, you would lose the connection to your fans and become another elite. This may be great, but I think you're well suited to the fan relationships and might find the bigger stage very lonely. Have you given this any thought? And if you did hit big time, would it be what you think? I look at Jimmy Carr as a comedy machine, but lacking in any personality. Okay. I don't want to be disparaging Jimmy Carr, but I agree. I'm not a huge fan of the stand there and make, as what Stuart Lee calls, Christmas cracker jokes that have been written by Hitler. Don't find rape overly hilarious. So Jimmy Carr's not for me. Works constantly. He's on every single show in England. Hugely in demand, and I will point out he was extremely kind to me when I started out, and he's not going to hear this. So I'm allowed to say it's not for me, and he, but okay, I'm definitely not famous, and a movie was not necessarily made about me. A script was written about someone that did a job. The premise of my life at the time was I did a job that involved interviewing the most famous comedians in the world, like Amy Schumer. Amy Schumer has a new movie out this week, and I always love Amy Schumer movies. In fact, I love everything about Amy Schumer, and she's suffered some horrible misogyny online over the years. I would spend days like with people like Amy Schumer. I have a collection of emails called Emails I Wish I'd Replied To, and when I first met Amy, she was very much up and coming. She'd done one roast basically, and I was just such a huge fan and listened to her album, loved it. So pushed for her to be in the GQ comedy issue alongside all these greats like Seinfeld and Jackie Mason and Chris Rock and Tracy Morgan and Seth MacFarlane and Gary Shandling. And my editor basically, no one really wanted her in because she was not famous, but they did it just because I wanted it. And she and I became very friendly through this process. She wrote me an email saying she wanted to do some London shows and would I be up for doing a show together at the Soho Theatre. And I didn't reply. So, yeah, emails I wish I replied to. The movie was made about my life because Anyone that's listening is referring to the movie The Comedian's Guide to Survival, in which James Buckley plays a character called James Mullinger, which you can watch on YouTube because I've stolen it, pirated it, and put it up there for you all to watch for free because you shouldn't have to pay for shit. That's why I don't have any money. The writer-director liked the fact that it's an interesting premise. A wannabe comedian spends his days interviewing the most famous people in the world, but then spends his nights traveling around the country, getting booed off stage, performing for 5 people. It's an interesting dichotomy. That's kind of, and then they just gave the character my name. So it's not about me. But thank God, because the movie's not good. And also the synopsis that they originally put out, the first line of the synopsis is failed comedian James Mullinger. I'm like, thanks a bloody bunch. When people Google my name, that's all that comes up. And then also, when you type in my name and review, all that comes up is the shitty reviews for that film. Although, weirdly, some comedy critics, the 3 big comedy critics in the UK gave it glowing reviews, said it was like a funny version of Louis C.K.'s Louis, but obviously before Louis C.K. was doing all the wanking. Well, he wasn't before, he was probably still doing the wanking, but hadn't been caught doing the wanking, hadn't been exposed for doing the wanking. Well, exposed, sorry, he'd exposed himself. You know what I'm saying. You're absolutely right, though. I take huge pleasure in, I cannot believe that this is one of the thoughts that was going through my head on Friday when I was kind of lying in bed hallucinating with the Norovirus. It was like a Tony Soprano dream sequence when he worked out that like pussy was a rat. And I was having all these kind of moments of clarity and moments of realization, the kind of things that normally people take in the show industry. They take mushrooms to have these kind of moments of clarity or kind of moments of realization of enlightenment. Who's heard of that drug, DMT, Dead Men's Trousers? The Irvin Welsh book, DMT. The Irvin Welsh book, Dead Men's Trousers, which is a sequel to Trainspotting, of which I believe there's another sequel to Trainspotting coming this year. There's Trainspotting, then there's Porno, and then there was Skag Boys that was a prequel. Then there was Dead Men's Trousers. Is absolutely hilarious book. But in it, there's this drug, DMT, that apparently you take it and you go on the wildest, most out there trip. It only lasts 10 minutes, but you've got to be somewhere safe, bloody, bloody, blah, obviously. But it's supposed to change your life. I could never do it. But just get the Norovirus. That's what I did. What am I trying to say? I literally sometimes have these moments where I'm like, I cannot believe that the dream that I had as a child of wanting to be, I cannot believe I'm a comedian. I cannot believe people buy tickets to see me tell jokes and I get to do this job, and I also don't think I'm terrible at it. Cannot believe it. So it's literally like, that's like, for me, that's like being bigger than being Adam Sandler in my mind. Like, I just can't. So you're right. I would possibly lose the connection. Oh, I pick you up on the word fan. I do not have fans. I have friends who share the same sense of humor as me. I will never, ever have a fan. I will never call someone a fan. They're not fan relationships. They are relationships with other people who share the same sense of humor as me, who kindly buy tickets to shows and help put food on my family's table and help me reinvest money into creating other things. Not fans. I would find the big stage. I mean, you look at someone like Nate Bargatze is obviously very good at handling all of this, and of course, but yes, it's not for me. Like, I mean, I would the big machine thing. I mean, I would like someone to take some stuff off my. I would like to not be like literally being the one sitting here, booking the venues, negotiating the contract, arguing about the details, trying to make sure that there's water on the stage, renting the rental car, booking the shit hotel, finding the cheapest one, nothing works, trying to find a coffee, before the show, traipsing around, realizing that the tech isn't working, having to fix the tech, having to stay on top of everything, having to make sure the venues put the posters up, get the poster design, get the poster printed, send the posters to the venue. I would kind of like to not be doing that and a million other things, and possibly have someone doing that for me, if that's what success looks like. If it's not having to do everything and maybe just being, I would like it if doing the stand-up could be like 50% of the job rather than like 10%, and the other 90 is all this admin. That would be nice. But I'm not complaining because, like I said, in my I cannot believe there's not many. There was not many times in my life before the comedy started to go well that I could say that I could die happy with what I'm leaving behind in terms of not legacy is not the right word, but I quite like some of the stuff I've produced. I'm very proud of my book. There's a few jokes that I think are good that I've done in 20 years. And I want to get better. And this Thursday at Long Bay, there's 4 tickets left, by the way. 4 people. 4 people couldn't come to return their tickets. There's 4 tickets if anyone wants to grab them. And this Saturday night, me and Corey Hartley are at Crab Mountain Inn, which is always fun. And I always think to myself, I remember playing Crab Mountain a weekend a couple of years ago when all of my friends were playing like a massive festival, playing with all the biggest comedians in the world. And I was at an inn in the middle of Haynesville, and I just thought, this is where I belong, and I'm having way more fun. And I couldn't cope with the kind of stress that goes with these competitive festivals. These big festivals don't want me, by the way, in Canada. In fact, the industry doesn't want me in Canada. No, the Canadian comedy industry does not want me in it. The festivals don't want me. The clubs don't want me. The TV channels don't want me. So that's great. So I perform in places that will have me, and I want to perform in places. And by the way, thanks for the people who've reached out to help me get. I basically, for example, I want to go to Saskatchewan, and I would love it if a promoter could do what Rob Balston does for me in BC and go, right, we've booked you 3 venues, we're going to split it 50-50, costs off the top. You book your own flight, but once you get here, we'll look after you. 3 days, bash. Love it. I'd make money, the promoter would make money, audiences would have a great time. Bish Bash Boss Sweet isn't that lovely jubbly. The world needs more Rob Balstons, who runs Trainwreck Comedy for me. It does. I do the shows with him in BC. Instead, the Saskatchewan dates is going to be me basically booking a venue, booking a flight, booking a hotel, and doing all that stuff myself, doing the promotion myself, but not having anyone on the ground there to do it. That's all. Andre, T-Mark, how most people don't salt their pasta water, and circles, they're pointless. Circles, are they pointless? Life is a circle. The universe is a circle. Not the universe, the planet, world, England. No, not England. Sorry, the world, the planet. I'm not an astronomist. I'm not an astrologer. I'm not. Well, I can't believe people don't salt their pasta water, and circles aren't pointless because some pasta is a circle. Oh no! Sorry, the stupid computer's trying to do something. You can't do that because you're offline, you stupid. Get your bottom to Riverview for another show. Thank you, Scott Burgess. Is that the Scott that took the amazing pictures, by the way? Thank you for that. I am trying to book my big Moncton show for this year. The Ep Art Centre, I went to an Arts NB event at and loved, and it's small. And I know my friend Sugar Sammy's playing there, and I got in touch with them, but they basically said, no, we don't want you. So that's fine, understandable. Riverview Arts Centre is beautiful. They too ignored, doing it. I emailed about 50 times at one point about doing a show. There wasn't too much interest. That's the other thing that's frustrating in my game, is that I'm the one that sends the 500 emails a day. So I'm the one that's kind of aware of how many things are not coming back. Of course, it doesn't matter in the grand one because my diary's full. So, but with Riverview, we were doing the show there, and it took us about half an hour to find the place. I wonder if audiences, and tell me if I'm right, greater Moncton area friends, do you know where the Riverview Arts Centre is, and can you get there, and will you get there if I did the show there? Not that they will have me, so I may be back at the Capitol. Devlina Paul, wonderful Devlina, who I first met. She moved here a few years ago. We foresee a huge demand for the homemade wine from Sussex. You're absolutely right, Devlina. Devlina I met at Chapters Indigo. Jane, my dear friend Jane from Harvey Hall. I'm doing a show at Harvey Hall, by the way, this June. Jane is one of the amazing volunteers that bought the 160-year-old Harvey Hall, one of the oldest buildings in Canada, back to blah, 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 blah. Jane, I need to know how to pronounce your surname. I believe I once pronounced it, and then Chrysostom. Is your name Jane West Chrysostom? Let me know. It's embarrassing. I should have asked this privately, but it's easier. I always like to hear people's anecdotes about what their family's main meal was like growing up. It shapes so much of our lives, and sharing about it helps widen cultural awareness. What's your typical family dinner routine growing up? Tea time, really. It was tea time. Sit on the table, bangers and mash, shepherd's pie, cottage pie. But basically, crucially, Jane, salad cream with everything. Chrissy Hayward, side question, when are you back in Fredericton at the Comic Sutra so I can bring Mia to a show? Also, is she allowed in? I believe Mia is allowed, even though it is a pub. I'm not sure, though, but I'm obviously back at the Playhouse, Chrissy, but I will be doing other shows in Fredericton for sure. But also, Chrissy, are you Mia's grandmother? Anyway, either way, Mia is amazing, and you have a really, really amazing family. Charlotte Flewelling, Unicorn Dreams. I'll be back very soon. I'm going to be doing new material testing at Comic Sutra very soon on like a Wednesday night. But I will investigate the age restriction. If not, just come into the Playhouse in September when the material will be all honed. Charlotte Flewelling. God bless you, Charlotte. Unicorn Dreams and Lollipops. Let's see what you come up with from that suggestion. Unicorn Dreams. Well, I'll tell you what, I was having unicorn dreams on Friday with the old Norovirus. You do not need mushrooms or to have an out-of-body experience. Go and lick like an elementary school doorknob and get the Norovirus. You'll see unicorn dreams and lollipops then. Andrew Butters, again, about halfway through your autobiography now, Andrew. It's absolutely magical and absolutely hilarious. And we have lived such a similar life and also partied in very similar ways back in the day. You're always showing us a good time and making us laugh and smile. How about you tell us about a moment in the past week that made you laugh? You've got kids and spend oodles of time with funny people, so I hope you have several to choose from. What made me laugh like a drain? My son River made me laugh like a drain. Makes me laugh almost every day, says hilarious things. We're always saying funny things to our dog. What else have I watched that might have been funny? Graham Norton, the Graham Norton show with Renee Zellweger, and then also the episode with, who's absolutely hilarious? Anthony Mackie and another actor who's in a new, this is going to be very helpful, a new show on Disney Plus about the president getting murdered. The main actor in that and Anthony Mackie, a hilarious double act on Graham Norton. I tell you what, I love Alan Sugar. Is the host of the British Apprentice. Now, it's so weird to think the Apprentice was obviously a British show first. It's on its 19th season. It's just started. My wife and I absolutely love it. It's like, same as, unlike here where everything's about stupid arse celebrities. In England, the Apprentice is, 18, wannabe business people, but basically wankers, have to compete to get an investment from Lord Sugar. Lord Sugar used to own Tottenham Hotspur. He is absolutely hilarious. Here's an example. Someone says that they're in the mug business, and he goes, I was in the mug business. I bought Spurs. Hilarious. One-liners. He says to people, I've heard more bullshit. Anyway, weird thing, The Apprentice was a show that Alan Sugar was kind of like a bit of like a monster of a entrepreneur. And then, so they did the American version, and they got another kind of equally kind of monstrous, comedically monstrous entrepreneur, Donald Trump. And then how Alan Sugar's still hosting The Apprentice 28. It's funny how some shows like Survivor lasted one season in England, and now in America it's on seasons 376. And then The Apprentice lasted a few seasons, and now the host is the President of the United States. And in England now, Lord Sugar is like a cuddly teddy bear. Still hosting it. Anyway, that made me laugh my backside off. It's a good question. Every week I'm going to bring this one up and tell you what's made me laugh that week. Drawn to It Studios. I think you should talk about teaming up with St. John's Toonie Freak Extreme to make an animated project. Drawn to It Studios is Brian Finlay and family's production company, which made the amazing Ugwug. And I had such fun making Ugwug, and it's one of the proudest things I've ever done. I'm assuming Toonie Freak Extreme is one of your businesses, Brian. If so, count me in. I'll do anything with you guys again. I tell you what makes me laugh. Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson. I just rewatched the comic strip presents Mr. Jolly Lives Next Door. I believe this to be the greatest comic creation of all time. It's basically Rick Mayall and Adrian Edmondson post Dangerous Brothers, pre-Bottom, post around the time of the Young Ones. They play two escorts / alcoholics. Peter Cook is a serial killer that lives next door. They take out Nicholas Bloody Parsons, as they call him, for a night out. It's directed by Stephen Frears, and it's believe it's probably about 1983. I had it on VHS, watched it every day at university, and I think it's the greatest, funniest thing of all time, the most endlessly quotable. Watch it. So, Mr. Dolly Lives Next Door is what's made me laugh this week. Okay, that was the podcast, episode 41. Thank you all very much for listening. Next week, there'll be no mentions at all of Donald Trump. So, Zuckerberg, if you're listening, and I know you are, let next week's episode be heard by people, please. And then to the Googles or the YouTubes who are hiding my things and making them private without me wanting them private, even when I set them to public, you make them private. Can you not do that next week? And I promise not to mention your friend Trumpy Wumpy. And because, let's face it, you need to protect him because he's the bloody president, you idiot. You already won. He can't serve again. Let people have their say. It's absolutely mental that that's happening. I'm not being paranoid because it is actually happening. Okay, I've been James Manager. You've been you, and really lovely, frankly, for listening. And I really, really appreciate it. Love you all very much. Just be lovely to someone that you see. That's it. Love you. Bye.
Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.
You've been listening to a Podstarter production.